Across the world, the conversation about inclusion in schools and communities has grown louder, and that's a good thing. We are slowly learning to make room for every child, no matter their background, ability, or diagnosis. But making room isn't the same as handing over the microphone. We have policies for inclusion. We have programs for support. But how often do we go a step further and say, "Let this child lead us"? How often do we look at a child with a disability and say, "You have something to teach us"? It's time for a deeper, bolder shift. It's time to empower children with disabilities not just to be included, but to be leaders. In classrooms, in assemblies, in programs, and in public life. And leading this conversation is a boy named Isaac Kearney. Isaac Kearney, a story of presence, not pity. Isaac is a young boy from Northern Ireland. He lives with Wolf-Hirschhorn syndrome, a rare genetic condition that affects development, and craniosynostosis, which affects skull growth. These diagnoses bring challenges, but they do not define him. Isaac is more than his condition. He is a boy full of personality, strength, and light. He is a beloved son, a proud big brother, and a student whose presence in school is felt in ways that can't be measured by words alone. When Liverpool Football Club surprised him at school and later brought him to Anfield, it wasn't just a kind gesture. It was a moment that showed the world how deeply one child's presence can affect a community. Isaac's story isn't about a boy being granted a special moment because of his condition. It's about a boy whose life has touched the lives of others simply by being seen, included, and celebrated. He didn't give a speech. He didn't ask for anything. But in that moment, surrounded by joy, Isaac became a quiet symbol of what happens when the world slows down long enough to recognize a different kind of leadership. Why this matters: the hidden crisis of exclusion in leadership. Children with disabilities are often the most underrepresented group in visible leadership roles. They're almost always the ones we say we're protecting or helping, but rarely are they the ones we look to for guidance. They attend school assemblies but don't get to speak at them. They take part in events but aren't asked to plan or lead them. They're included in photos but not on the program agendas. This is a quiet kind of exclusion. And it sends a message to the child, over time, that they are valued only for being present, not for what they can contribute. Let's stop that cycle now. Let's begin a revolution of leadership led by children with disabilities. Rethinking leadership, what it really means. We need to challenge how we define leadership in schools and communities. Too often, leadership is equated with public speaking, athletic skill, academic performance, or charisma. These are valid, but incomplete. Leadership is also the ability to inspire others simply by showing up day after day with courage. The patience to teach others about empathy by living authentically. The quiet determination to push through challenges that most children will never face. If you've ever watched a child like Isaac go through a day, with medical needs, sensory sensitivities, communication challenges, or physical obstacles, you've seen resilience in its purest form. That resilience is leadership. That courage is leadership. That joy, even in the face of struggle, is leadership. So why are we keeping that leadership hidden? What letting them lead actually looks like? This is not about token gestures. This is not about pity. This is about intentionally creating real, ongoing, respectful opportunities for children with disabilities to lead in their schools, their neighborhoods, and their programs. Here's how we do it. 1. Create custom leadership roles that fit the child. Every child leads differently. Let's stop waiting for them to lead like everyone else. A child who loves handing out papers can be a classroom messenger. A child who uses a communication device can pre-record a message to play at assembly. A student with sensory needs might help design a calm space for peers. These are real leadership contributions, not charity. 2. Make representation intentional, not accidental. How often do we see children with disabilities? On student councils? Leading group activities? Representing their schools in public? If the answer is rarely, it's not the children, it's the structure that needs to change. Let's intentionally recruit them into leadership pipelines, assign mentors, and build adaptive support systems to help them succeed. 3. Empower peer relationships, not isolation. One of the most powerful things we can do is pair students with and without disabilities to lead together. Co-lead a reading session. Run a lunch club together. Team up for charity projects. This kind of integrated leadership not only gives the child with a disability a voice, it also transforms the peer, who learns about empathy, strength, and shared humanity in ways no textbook can teach. 4. Celebrate milestones as moments of leadership. Isaac's story has already shown us how deeply impactful it is when a community pauses to recognize a child's journey. A child learning to self-regulate through sensory breaks? That's leadership. A child helping others understand inclusion through their own life? That's leadership. A child showing up every day with a smile after years of hospital visits? That's leadership. We must stop celebrating only what's easily seen and start honoring what is deeply lived. 5. Let families guide the process. Nobody knows a child better than their family. Whether it's Melissa and Alan guiding Isaac's journey, or any other parent advocating for their child, listen to them. Let their insight inform how leadership opportunities are created and supported. They know what helps their child thrive, and what has held them back. What Isaac teaches us about the future. Isaac isn't trying to teach us anything. He's simply living his life, surrounded by a family who loves him, a sister who looks up to him, and a world that sometimes struggles to understand him. But that's exactly the point. Children like Isaac don't need to stand behind a podium to change lives. They change lives by just being given the space to show up as themselves, and by being treated as people with power, purpose, and possibility. That's leadership. And we, as a society, have a choice. We can keep offering children with disabilities a seat at the table, as long as they stay quiet, small, and grateful. Or we can hand them the mic, lift them onto the stage, and say, "Show us how to live with courage. Show us how to lead with heart." A final message to schools, communities, and leaders. Let this be the moment we stop waiting for change and start leading it. Let every school ask, who are we putting forward as leaders? Whose faces are on our student boards? Whose voices are guiding our decisions? And if the answer doesn't include children like Isaac, it's time to start again. Because the child you've been overlooking might be the one who changes your school forever. Not because they fit in, but because you let them lead. Isaac's light. Isaac Kearney will never know just how many people he's inspired. His story is not one of pity, but of potential. He shows us what happens when a child with disabilities is truly seen. So let this article be more than words. Let it be the first step in a movement of empowerment. Let it be the foundation of a future where every child, no matter their diagnosis, has the chance to lead. Because the world needs all kinds of leaders. And some of the most powerful ones are already here.